here to provide you an update on a case that has very much dominated the headlines since the first news broke last week of the shocking death of Ann Widdecombe. Firstly, as you will understand, this incident has had a deeply distressing impact on Miss Widdecombe's family, and we're doing all we can to support them alongside our colleagues in Devon and Cornwall. The thoughts of everybody at counter-terrorism policing are with them at what is a very challenging time. As we confirmed yesterday, Counter-Terrorism South East are now leading the investigation into the death of Ann Widdecombe. This is due to new information and evidence coming to light following the arrest of a 28-year-old man on Saturday in South Yorkshire. I know there will be lots of questions about what that new information is, but this is a live investigation, so I'm limited on the details that I can give. However, it is clear that this was a targeted attack. We are still working to understand the extent of any planning or preparation and the motivation that sits behind that attack. And I do not want to comment further on this at this stage of our inquiries. Extensive searches have taken place at an address in Rotherham, and scenes remain in place as that activity continues. We have also been granted a warrant of further detention, which means the suspect can now be held for questioning for up to 7 days under the Terrorism Act. He remains under arrest on suspicion of commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism, as well as on suspicion of murder. This is a complex investigation, and there are multiple lines of inquiry that we are pursuing expeditiously, including digital forensic examinations. I am very aware of the significant levels of public interest in this case, given that Miss Widdecombe was such a high-profile political and public figure and familiar to many. I do not intend to address every bit of speculation we have seen, but I would like to use this opportunity to remind the public that investigations of this type are complex and new information can emerge as officers progress their inquiries. And we intend to release further information when it's available and when it is appropriate to do so. So please allow us to do our job thoroughly and carefully, and think before sharing any unverified information. It is important to remember that this is a murder investigation following a brutal attack on a 78-year-old lady in her own home. I want to ensure that our work is conducted sensitively and considers the impact of what has happened. I would like to end by reassuring all of those who knew or knew of Ann Widdecombe that our excellent teams of investigators are working incredibly hard with the aim of securing justice for her and her family. So please, if you have any information that you think might help us with this investigation, please contact the police. Thank you very much.
So that was Lawrence Taylor, the head of counter-terrorism police, speaking outside New Scotland Yard. Let's go straight back to our correspondent Dan Whitehead. And Dan, confirming many of the things that you said, the police are going to be searching the address. They have more time to do that. They have 7 days now with this suspect, and also pleading with the public and all of us to not spread misinformation. Communication has been quite a key part of this investigation, hasn't it? Because the story has changed from when you first covered it last Friday to a 26-year-old to a 28-year-old being arrested and then not being terrorism to suddenly it being suggested that it's terrorism. The communication is quite key, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, lightning speed is how the Chief Constable of Devon and Cornwall described us. I think it was on Sunday, and that's very true. I mean, we're on day 6 now. It's nearly a week since Ann Widdecombe died inside her property on Dartmoor, and in that time, we have had someone arrested, 12 hours later, released without charge. We've had other police forces involved. We've had raids on properties 270 miles away, and now we've had counter-terrorism police taking over this investigation. That has given it a focus in terms of the new charge which this 28-year-old suspect. So I think the concentration really starts in Rotherham on Saturday night, 9 o'clock in the evening, when that 28-year-old British male was arrested at that house. And he, of course, has been in custody since then. The news that he was rearrested came on Monday. We're waiting for clarification exactly when he was rearrested. That's the time that starts for the 7 days that they now have to continue questioning him on 2 sets of charges, one on terrorism charges, one on suspicion of murder. The top line this afternoon coming from police is that they can confirm that this was clearly a targeted attack. That is significant because in those early days there was speculation. Was talk of whether or not this was a bungled burglary of some sort. But what has clearly emerged is that there's nearly 300 miles of travel involved for what is now understood to be a targeted attack with some planning and some preparation. There was still no update really on the motivation, and Lawrence Taylor didn't want to be drawn on the speculation surrounding that. Of course, this is a difficult balance for counter-terrorism police, given the length of time now that this is going on. It's clearly a complex investigation with a huge appetite for information amongst the public. They have to tread that line to not jeopardise the investigation, which continues. As I say, there was a Q&A, an off-camera Q&A, just before that statement we've seen outside New Scotland Yard. Some of those questions revealed some quite interesting answers which we can bring you. First question was this an attack on Reform UK? The party, of course, we've seen the party's, Ann Widdecombe, of course, was a spokesperson for Reform UK before she died, and we've seen Nigel Farage and various members of the party come out. And there's been a lot of focus, of course, in the last 24 hours on politicians' safety, both serving MPs and those who have retired. Lawrence Taylor saying we are working through what the motivation was for this attack and we're working on a number of inquiries. So not addressing that question about Reform UK. How much planning went into the attack? We are aware that there has been some preparation and planning. I won't go into details. This hasn't been declared as a terrorist incident. We are investigating terrorism offences in parallel to the murder investigation. That's a clarification. Interesting question as well, asked if her appearance on television the morning of the attack, I'm not sure if it was the morning or the evening before, may have motivated the attacker. Of course, not being drawn on detail, but he did say we are exploring all lines of inquiry, and that is one of the lines of inquiry we are exploring. Of course, many people will have seen the reports of producers at various TV stations who had been in communication with Anne in the hours leading up to her attack, which we believe happened at 12:30 on Wednesday. She was due to make television appearances, as she did frequently on various programmes, and they couldn't get hold of her, which clearly has formed part of the line of thought as to the timing of this attack on Wednesday. Question about foreign interference, the journalist asked. Can he reassure the public that no foreign state interference was involved? He said that they are following all lines of inquiry, keeping an open mind, but that they are working in partnership with security services to various levels. So that's the thrust of the update from counter-terrorism police. No charge yet. They continue to question the 28-year-old from Rotherham. They have 7 days at the moment to do so. That started from his rearrest, so I would consider that probably around 6 days potentially left to continue questioning, of course, to bring a charge or not. But asking people again not to speculate over the motivation. He clearly did not want to be drawn at all on that area of questioning. So really the top lines this afternoon are the extension of 7 days, the fact that there clearly was some preparation, there was planning, and that the attack, the suspected murder on 78-year-old Ann Widdecombe, was indeed targeted.